Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back, students, for your week 4 literature lesson, and I hope you have all read your novel. What are the objectives? Well, your objectives are to determine vocabulary meaning using context clues, identify the figurative language used to describe the flora and fauna in the chapter, and identify an adjective and an adverb in the chapters you're reading. Okay, recap of chapter 1. Well, the recap is going to be a bit long because the chapter is a lot in detail, so I just want you to go through it. If you have read the chapter, very good, excellent. So let's go through the chapter again. After the family makes it through customs, they wind their way through the quay. Larry walks quickly and with a disdainful expression on his face, followed by Jerry, Leslie, Margot means the rest of his family, who has harried and annoyed. Roger the dog drags Mother to a lamppost to relieve himself as Larry loads the luggage into one horse-drawn cab and engages a second to carry the family. Larry grouses that Roger is a nuisance. Finally, Roger finishes and the family lifts him clumsily into the cab. As the cab moves through the town, Roger lets his head hang out of the window. The cab goes past an alley where 4 local dogs are lying in the sun and Roger barks loudly at them. The street dogs immediately race after the cab and bark back, and Leslie struggles to keep Roger from leaping out. Soon 24 dogs are chasing the cab and Larry yells angrily that the family looks ridiculous. Leslie suggests that Larry help, so Larry grabs the driver's whip and cracks it at the dogs. He hits Leslie and then Mother's head, and Mother tells Larry to be careful. Finally, the cab reaches the hotel. Larry seems to enjoy himself as he waves the whip at the street dogs while Mother, Leslie, Jerry and Margot haul Roger, still snarling, into the hotel. When they are all inside, Mother turns to the manager and informs him of who they are as though nothing is amiss. The family all takes a nap and then congregate downstairs for dinner a while later. Larry is thrilled with curfew thus far, but Mother tries to seem non-committal. Leslie is annoyed as the manager couldn't bring him toilet paper. Margot pipes up helpfully that the toilets all have boxes full of paper. Larry snorts and informs her that the paper in the box is used. Horrified, Margot races back to her room and douses herself in sanitizer, while Mother insists that they must find a house before they all get typhoid. Well, it doesn't help Mother's peace of mind that all afternoon the family can watch funeral processions to the nearby cemetery out their windows. The processions are ornate and Jerry decides that this is the best way to die. Colorful decorations and satisfyingly upset relatives crying openly. Jerry watches them all afternoon as Mother worries that there's an epidemic in town. This sends Margot into hysterics and Mother declares that they must find a house in the country immediately. Well, then Mr. Beeler, the hotel guide, drives Mother and the Durrell children around the island the next day to look at multiple villas. Mother rejects them all and Mr. Beeler finally asks what's wrong with all the villas. Mother, astonished, says that they don't have bathrooms. Distraught, Mr. Beeler asks why she wants a bathroom when the sea is right there. The next day, Mother decides to hire a car and hunt for a villa with a bathroom herself. Then Leslie, Larry, Margot and Jerry are unconvinced that they'll find such a thing on the island. And then in the town square, the taxi drivers converge on the Durrells and loudly fight for their business. Jerry explains that it was terrifying, but the driver's altercation was actually mild by Greek standards. As Mother becomes more frustrated and Leslie angrier, a loud voice speaking English booms over the crowd. It belongs to a short, hammy man in an old Dodge who introduces himself as Spyro. He explains that he knows of a villa with a bathroom and the family climbs into his Dodge. And as Spyro drives, he tells the Durrells that the English always want bathrooms. He also tells him that he used to live in Chicago where he learned English. He insists if he were in Greek, he'd be English. He drives past olive groves and finally stops at the top of a hill. Spyro points to a villa, pink villa overlooking the sea. Well, this character Spyro is really interesting the way he speaks English because he adds an S with every word he speaks. So if you have read the novel, you might be well aware of what I'm trying to say, and those who haven't, please do read it. Now let's start chapter 2. That was the migration in chapter 1, how they migrated to the island, the Corfu Island, Greece. And now the unsuspected isle. What are they going to face over here now? Well, when Jerry describes the natural world surrounding the villa before anything else, it makes it clear to the reader that his true focus is on the natural world rather than the humans that inhabit it. Means the people who are living over here, he does not concentrate on them. Instead, his whole focus, his whole attention is towards the natural world around the place where they're living. And when Spyro steps in to take care of the turtles, it shows that he understands how difficult such a move can be and that they'll need assistance in adjusting at the place. Well, it comes later on that the punishment for blowing up fish is harsher than the punishment for a murder, which again shows that the Greek people value the natural world even in the laws of the island, and the law of curfew then presents people living in tandem with nature and creates a social structure that prioritizes preserving nature more than preserving human relations. So that's how the people look at the vegetation around them. And Spyro himself is an absurd character, particularly the way that Jerry describes him in the novel. It suggests that all of curfew is somewhat absurd, from the laws to the people and their bathroom habits. When Leslie and Larry pester Spyro, it again shows that even though they are both technically adults, they don't always act particularly grown up. And then the donkey in this novel reminds Larry that on curfew, well, the time was 1935, isn't particularly modern. Because the houses don't have electricity, and the way they are still using the animals, the donkey, for transportation. Animals that are still used for work are ubiquitous. And being animals, they make noise and behave like animals, of course. And the fact that this is so offensive for Larry suggests that he prefers a world that's more walled off and separate from the natural world. And again, the fact that Mother is an avid gardener suggests that as a whole, she'll be more open and accepting of Jerry's love of animals, given that she spends her time in nature, albeit cultivated nature. Well, whatever animal Jerry brings into the house, she takes care of them and does not get annoyed and does not even object. That's why Jerry keeps on bringing different animals, and then she has to take care of them. And as Jerry begins exploring the garden, the novel begins to set him apart from his family by contrasting his enthusiasm with their apparent lack of desire to know anything about the non-human residents of the island. Non-human means the animals, of course, and the fact that Jerry anthropomorphizes even the tiny earwigs shows that he truly believes that they are worthy of consideration and have personalities of their own. The way he describes the description given by Jerry about the different animals, the spiders and all, and even the gardens and the fauna and everything, it's spectacular. Do read it because it will help you out in writing descriptive in your essays when you're doing the description in it. And it's generally accepted that children have an easier time learning languages than adults, which suggests that Jerry's youth isn't a bad thing in the least, and his youth means that he'll have an easier time adapting to life on curfew and immersing himself in the local community. Immersing means getting involved and indulge in the people around him and the local community where they live. And then the chapter 3 is the Rose Beetle Man, and this person is really a very interesting character. When Jerry teases Roger, his dog, it again shows Jerry treating Roger as a being with feelings and desires all of his own. It's convenient for them both that they both love being outside, wandering the island, as it allows them to deepen their friendship and loyalty to each other as they associate with the natural world. And then here Roger's behavior towards Jerry shows that he thinks of Jerry similarly to how Jerry thinks of Roger. And they are both being and they both are have the both beings are their needs are properly cared for and looked after. And this also reinforces how loyal Roger, their dog, is. And then Jenny's story casts the cypress trees as living, sentient beings in their own right, which again shows that the local population is far more connected to nature than even the nature-loving Jerry is. Though Jerry certainly thinks that trees are interesting, he tends to draw a line at anthropomorphizing trees. This shows that while Jerry may have more in common with the Greeks than with his family, there are still major differences in them. And though Jerry never knows how the other locals feel about the rose beetle man, the fact that he came from a party suggests that he's an accepted part of a local culture. His eccentricities again suggest that the culture on Corfu naturally tends towards the more absurd, making a place for eccentric individuals like the rose beetle man. And here the fact that it's apparently no big deal for the rose beetle man to come to the villa for payment illustrates just how different the culture is on Corfu than it is elsewhere. Well, the interesting part is that this rose beetle man cannot speak. He uses sign language to communicate, and he sells different types of different insects, animals, and awkward items. He has almost everything. And it's worth noting that because Jerry is a child, he may have fewer experiences in more conventional purchasing habits, but regardless, the fact that he's so young means that he's far more easily able to accept that he is a perfectly normal way of doing things. And then as one of the first more exotic pets, Achilles shows the other Durrells that having wildlife around doesn't have to be terrible. Here actually Achilles is their turtle, pet turtle. Nature and wild animals can be enriching and are just as capable of enjoying human companionship as more normal pets like Roger. This is what he's trying to show in his novel. And then further, the way that Jerry anthropomorphizes Achilles shows that Jerry definitely spent time with him, observing him and learning what makes him happy. This illustrates Jerry's commitment to providing his animals the best care possible, and his mother is also involved with him equally. And it's worth noting that Achilles' death could have absolutely been prevented. This impresses upon Jerry that it is truly his responsibility to look out for the safety of his pets than rely on him. So he learns a lot from these things. And again, it's important to recognize that there's no real way to know what exactly Quasimodo thought of himself. Jerry's anthropomorphism provides one possible explanation for his habits, but it may not tell the whole truth. This illustrates that people can absolutely do their best to listen to the animals and interpret what they're trying to say, but it's definitely not an exact science. To this end, it's worth keeping in mind that pet birds overwhelmingly enjoy music and human companionship even if they do not fly. Thank you.